YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. As I've said many times, problem, reaction, solution, the name of the game. And this entire psychological operation that we're seeing in Minnesota is going to be carried out on the Christian conservatives who are going to fall for this hook, line, and sinker because they want to play the role of victim. They didn't even know if these people existed in the first place, but when it's a Christian that's shot, they feel like, they're against us, and it's my next door neighbor who's a trans, it's against us, and all these crazy Dems in the media who are against us, without realizing the bigger picture, which is that the government stages these events so that they could bring in new laws and new enforcement in our day-to-day lives. And it's what I've said since day one, and it continues to happen. But when we see it happen, too many people are kept asleep because the government replaced the real truth movement with the controlled alt-right media. So we got this guy on the news who goes by the name of Aaron Cohen. I'll let you take one guess as to what his religious affiliation is. Okay, well, you can base it on the last name. I mean, well, I'll get into that in more detail momentarily. But Aaron Cohen, who is a regular on Fox News, was on to talk about the actual, quote, shooting that occurred. And I will play that for you momentarily. But he's been on there many times. He's calling for Donald Trump to partner with him because he has his own AI-powered threat detection system that he wants to use. Now, this is another actor, ladies and gentlemen. Literally an actor, as I'll show you momentarily. But while these guys come on TV and they say, hey, I got something that I can use that's going to track and monitor everybody, and then ahead of time, we'll arrest the person before they commit the crime, people aren't even thinking, going, pre-crime, what? This should be against the law. Who are we allowing to use this type of detection? Oh, the conservatives think it's going to be used against the crazy liberals. Oh, yeah, they'll track the trans people. They're the ones posting online until the no-hide laws are here, so they flip the switch, or the script, I should say, and put a Dem in power like Newsom, and then suddenly you start seeing, wow, they're going to just use this technology against conspiracy theorists and against me and you, which is exactly what the plan is. But they're too distracted. Why? Well, because the worst media in the history of media, which is the alt-right media, it's become worse than the liberal media. I mean, it really is. We got these clowns who were just talking about unpacking the media's evil reaction to the Minneapolis church shooting. Because what they care about is, I can't believe that this person said this and that person said that. And let's go gossip on our Rumble channel for hours about it. Instead of showing people, hey, these events are staged. They're not real. And so the government can enforce new laws on all of us and take away more of our rights. But of course, their job is to get the Christian conservatives riled up. What did they say? They said prayers don't work. Oh boy, if you were going to think of an easier way to piss off Christians, how about prayers don't work and then showing the shooter putting a picture of Jesus on, something he uses at the shooting range to shoot at, right? Yeah, so they got the Christians all sucked into this, and all they're doing is viewing the videos that are talking about, ooh, let's see what the reaction was from the mayor of Minneapolis and Jen Psaki and all the Dems on CNN. They're all siding with the shooter. Shameless politicization of tragedy. Susan Moranis is out. I mean, look at these headlines. Do they actually care? They're upset because these Democrats who they hate so much don't seem to care that some Christian kids that nobody knows named George Glass and John Doe supposedly were killed in a shooting that nobody has proven is actually real, right? They're upset because they didn't react the way they want them to react. And that's what they've created. If you don't react the way I want you to react, you should be censored and silenced. All people are like, they're like little children. I don't even want to say little girls, they're like little babies. Oh, and it's worse than babies. There's babies that are smarter. This is pathetic. These are adult grown-ups who are going to these videos, commenting. This is what they care about. Tim Walz didn't show remorse for the kids that got shot. These Dems in Congress actually were saying that prayers don't work. How dare they? Oh, well, wouldn't you know? What if you found out the event wasn't even real in the first place? How would you feel then if you realized that you clamoring now because of people like, what's his name here? Mr. Cohen are telling you that they're going to bring in AI governance infrastructure, which is what Trump's bringing. They're going to bring in surveillance so that they can monitor you online and then send the police to your home. Is that what you want? Well, if it's going to stop these shootings, well, what if I told you they weren't real? What if I told you that these are going to get put in place so that this is the new language, the new lingo, the new norm? And then eventually, of course, Christians, when they tell you that the Bible is hate speech, when talking about Sodom and Gomorrah is wrong, when you can't talk negatively about gays or trans, all of a sudden the police show up at your front door because you were upset because of a government operation which you thought killed young kids at a church that nobody had any proof of actually happened. And you could thank Alex Jones, of course, and the control media for their entire charade with the Sandy Hook shooting, where he was taken to court and didn't ask for any actual evidence. He didn't want to examine the bodies. He had an opinion that he said it wasn't real. So shouldn't he say, hey, prove to me that it was actually real? Let's dig up the car. I want to see it. I have a right as a human, and then I'll change my opinion. Prove it to me. Oh, we have to believe everything we hear on the news, right? And these sheeple don't get it. That was the point of that trial. And that's really what we're dealing with on a day in, day out basis. This psychosis where people pick and choose what's real to them in the news. If this was a shooting and it was a trans kid who was shot by a Christian conservative, well, all the alt-right media, well, not the alt-right media, but a lot of the conservative MAGA people would say it probably was a false flag, man. Probably didn't even really happen, right? Just like all the other crap that we see on a day in, a day out basis. But when it came to Trump's assassination, they believed it. Wouldn't accept any narrative that was against that when it was the fakest event we've seen since Sandy Hook. I mean, faker. The Trump assassination is as fake as it possibly gets. There's no way schematically that it could even happen. You couldn't even get on that roof if you wanted to. You couldn't. And then the kid with BlackRock, and the kid is dead, and he outsmarted the Secret Service, and he missed by a milli-inch, and then Trump stands up for that photograph of fight, 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 and now all these psychopaths who are in the MAGA cult wear shirts that have Trump pumping his fist thinking that it's real. That's called a psychosis, right? So back to this, okay? Because I need to show you about Aaron Cohen here. Now, Aaron Cohen has a YouTube channel, 121,000 subs, probably never heard of him. Well, of course not. If you look at a lot of the views, I mean, I get a kick out of these guys who have hundreds of thousands of subs and can't get 2,000, 3,000 views. Here's a couple, 1,000 view for months and months ago, but they decided to pump him in the algorithm. So his newest videos are getting a lot of views, but he never normally gets a lot of views. And why is that? Well, because Aaron's getting his big push here. He's getting his big break. Now, Aaron Cohen, if you don't know, is an actor, but you're about to find out, well, he's an actor in more ways than one, right? He's an actor. He has his own IMDb page. He's in some films, Rambo 5, Last Blood. Had no idea there was a fifth Rambo. I'm sure that's really probably Oscar-worthy performances from Aaron Cohen. But his best performance you're going to see on Fox News momentarily. Now, this guy is another DARPA Mossad agent who's pretending to be a normal person who started a company because he wants to solve these crimes, help the government stop these crimes before they actually happen. This is as fake as it gets. Okay, his company's called Gideon. Of course, he's using a biblical name. Gideon was an Israelite military leader, a prophet and judge from the book of Judges. So this is how you bring in the conservative crowd on Fox News by having, oh, I remember Gideon. Right. He was an Israelite military leader, prophet and judge from the book of Judges. He named the company after that. And he's definitely a Christian, right? Well, wrong again. I mean, Aaron Judge, soldier, actor, writer, and spy. In fact, you can find a nice article on Aaron in the Jewish Journal where Aaron discusses his history, and I'll read it to you before I play the clip. Aaron has lived many lives in 43 years. I'm sure he has. Probably one as a woman, one as a man. When he was born in Montreal, he volunteered for the Israeli army at 18 and served for 3 years in an elite special forces counterterrorism unit, which he wrote about in his memoir, Brotherhood of Warriors. Then using his Israel Defense Forces training, he opened his own company providing personal security for celebrities and VIPs. Right? Now, with security issues more important than ever, he trains and advises law enforcement agencies while pursuing a career in Hollywood. Right? It all makes sense because all these people are actors. Anyway, and he goes into his history of how he joined and served in the IDF, which is some of the funnier videos I did on YouTube before the channel got terminated back in when the whole, the war between Gaza, Hamas and all that started, was like how the IDF was posting YouTube videos Like, they're going out, they're carrying out bombs, they're posting YouTube videos. The Hamas is posting YouTube videos. I mean, it just shows you like how fake this is and how their goal is to make sure they could suck you into the psychosis. And nobody out there questions why the IDF is posting stuff. Are they supposed to be private? Oh, you don't want them to find out where you are. They're posting just videos every day on their YouTube channel. It just shows you the state of the world that we're living in. So even in this article, he talks about being a Zionist, his mother marrying a man named Abby Mann, who was an Oscar-winning screenwriter of the story Judgment at Nuremberg, right, when he moved to Los Angeles. And they go on to ask him, are you in the Mossad? And he says, well, I can't publicly acknowledge any connection to Israel's foreign intelligence service, but I will say I worked very closely with the special operations community in Israel while in the unit. And that's all I can say about that. Yeah, so why don't you just say it without saying it? Because that's exactly what that is, right? Because, of course, he's Mossad showing up on Fox News. And why is he showing up on Fox News? Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. As I've said a million times for the last 10 years, one of the reasons they silence me is they want you to pay attention to the guns when they're not coming for the guns directly. The red flag laws are for conspiracy theorists and people who view content online like this. But what they really, really want is pre-crime, because then they don't come for your guns or my guns. They just throw us in jail because they decide if you're a criminal or not based on what you talk about online. So if you question the Holocaust, criminal, 50 years in jail, right? You question the history books, criminal, 50 years in jail. Says who? Says them, right? And this is what's coming thanks to Donald Trump, thanks to sleeping Christians, thanks to the alt-right media, which is the biggest joke that's ever existed, and thanks to the sheeple who just refuse to pay attention to what Donald Trump is actually doing.
Special Ops veteran Aaron Cohen, retired LAPD Lieutenant Mark Evans, and Fox News contributor and former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker. It's great to have you on. It's a sad night to do this. Nicole, I want to start with you first. The FBI Director, Kash Patel, posted this on X, quoting here, the FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. Is he right, Nicole? Is this a hate crime in your opinion?
I think that's an understatement. I think this is a hate crime and a lot more. And I appreciate that Kash Patel is stepping in and saying, you know what, let's look at this as a federal crime. Obviously, the shooter is deceased, a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But it is so important that the FBI steps in and discovers how this happened and investigates it as a hate crime or possible domestic terrorism.
Yeah, it's amazing to me because I want to put this up. The Minneapolis police chief, he gave a couple of news conferences today, Aaron Cohen, and some pretty compelling information along the way. He said the following here. I want to get your take on this.
We are also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings. That content has since been taken down with the assistance of the FBI, and it now remains under active review by our investigators.
So he clearly planned this. He had the manifesto going live on YouTube at a certain time. Clearly there was some thought that went into this, Aaron. I mean, and nobody was tipped off.
This is 100% domestic terrorism. I'm going to tell you why, Trace. This is ideologically motivated. This was tactical, and this was intentional. 80% of these domestic lone wolf terrorists post some type of grievance online. Matthew Crooks, 900 posts between 2020 and 2022. The D.C. shooter, 900-page manifesto. 100% domestic terrorism, and I bet you, in addition to that manifesto, there's a very significant breadcrumb daisy trail leading back who knows how many weeks, months, or even years. This is the new face of terrorism. This is no longer post-9/11 terror organized Al-Qaeda, Trace. These are radicalized online lone wolves, and the United States is 10 years behind these threats. We need to catch up.
And I wanted to get your opinion on the breaking news here because the First Lady, Melania Trump, just called for more, and this is quoting here, preemptive intervention when it comes to IDing school shooters. It's kind of your bailiwick, Aaron.
Trace, as you know, correct, 100%, and she's 100% correct. I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%. I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700 sworn. This is America's early warning system.
So remember, this isn't just some thing pulled out of thin air. I mean, this is what Palantir is working with Donald Trump. I covered it in my Melania Trump video. I've covered it for a while now. Palantir, the Gotham Project, other things that they have in place, which are going to arrest civilians for talking about certain subjects, right? So Christians hear this now. They're like, that's great. You can read the comment section. Some people are saying, yeah, that's great. We need to get that. This guy would have been arrested before him because he's getting all the info and then he's sending it to the police, right? Well, what about when we define the terrorists and Donald Trump isn't the president? What about then? Like what we went through the last 4 years where they were like, anyone who questions COVID is a conspiracy theorist and shouldn't have a job. You shouldn't be allowed to live in society. Remember all the stuff they put us all through? Yeah, so just imagine some psychopath like, let's say, Gavin Newsom, who they're preparing to put in power and use all of this technology against us. That's the plan, right? Because they're going to flip the switch at some point. And suddenly they say, well, the algorithm and all that stuff by now that goes to the police is to detect mental health. So it's trans people who are saying first it's anti-Semitism. That's got to be in place because if people figure out the blood libel and all the stuff that I've covered, the Talmud, everybody knows about it, right? People figure that out, well, the game is up. So they got to get this in place first to make sure that nobody questions Israel. Can't question the Rothschilds' involvement in Israel. You need to keep the sheeple asleep. And you can see in the Rumble videos that I put up how asleep these people are. You're a Nazi. How could you say this about Israel? They just refuse to get it. You could beat it into their heads about the Balfour Declaration, about the Rothschilds taking over Israel, about everything going on over there in reality, especially the oppression of Christians, and they don't want to hear it because their 501c3 minister who works for the government, who's allowed to be tax exempt, as long as he makes sure his church is in line with Zionism, they won't tell him that. And when it comes to the book of Revelation, well, they pretend it doesn't exist. Because when it comes to synagogue of Satan, well, can't tell them about that. And of course, they're training them now that if anyone says that, they're also anti-Semitic. So that's the first line of defense that will be in place. And everybody will agree with it, right? Because the Dems don't have any balls. You know, those people are just cowards in general. And the MAGA people, they're all on board because they have no idea. They're like, we have to bow down to Israel because Trump and everybody says we do. And Ron DeSantis, right? And they have the license plates in Florida now with the Israeli flag. I mean, it's not really the Star of David, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Star of Remphan, okay? The people out there, yes, I guess they are really that dumbed down because they're getting their media from dumbed down media that's keeping them dumbed down and entertaining them. So when they hear about the shooting, all they want to do is yell about trans people. They hate them. They've got to get them in mental problems. And no one's saying that trans people don't have mental problems, but the problem is that the trans people exist in the first place because the government has brainwashed them into thinking that they are transgender. So these are people who are victims of the government. Okay, they might act like narcissists. They might act like crazy people because the government has made them that way. Nobody would ever be born and think that they were born in the wrong body unless these seeds were planted in their mind. Nobody in the 1600s were going, hey, everybody, I don't know. I just woke up today and I feel like a woman. I got a penis and a beard, but they would never do that. It wasn't even a notion to be discussed unless, of course, everybody needed a good joke and everybody would laugh at it, right? It wasn't happening because it didn't exist until the government, of course, created it. And now everybody is confused about their gender. People are getting surgeries, then they're going back on the surgeries, wishing they never got the surgeries because the government's messing with you. They play with you. They tell you that mind control isn't real, but they're masters of it. And they've been masters of it for a long time, right? Operation Paperclip we can go back to and all the experiments they've been doing on the human mind. So what you heard in that clip was them getting the Christian audience to accept this without realizing how dangerous this is. Because when this is going to be, this is going to be rolled out and they're going to give you fake stories, like I've said a million times. Oh, it stopped the shooting here. You're going to see psyop, and they're going to be hilarious too. I'll cover them. I'll stay and make content just to cover how funny they're going to be. They're going to do stories where they're like, we're at this school today because today there was supposed to be a school shooting and it didn't happen because of Palantir's technology. Now, it's not going to be this clown's technology who was on the news. They'll roll his out. They'll roll other ones out. And then they'll tell you that Palantir's has the best because Palantir's right out of the CIA and Mossad. These guys, they'll just say, ooh, this guy invented this. This guy invented that. Ooh, we should use the best one. Like the Apple version of, predictive policing. It's Palantir, right? And they'll say, thanks to Palantir, all these kids didn't get murdered today at school. And everyone will go, wow, that's so great. And they won't think it's propaganda for 1 second. They'll say, well, they arrested this guy, called for an uprising. As he said stuff online that he didn't even say. But he was looking at stuff with weather modification, and he was radicalizing people to be anti-government. And one of the guys watched his videos, and then he started his own channel on YouTube, and he was talking about how he hated the world and he was depressed. And because of that guy, this guy went out and was going to carry it out. So we arrested him, and we arrested a call for an uprising. And they're going to go, that saved 50 lives. That's incredible. That's what suckers these people are. That's all they have to be told. They wouldn't sit there and go, wait a minute. How do we really know what saved 50 people? How do we not know that this guy's innocent? He didn't do anything. It's thought police. You arrested him for no reason. They won't even think that because they can't think. They'll just clap and applaud and say, that really works. Let's continue using that, right? And then they'll start tweaking it here and there. And suddenly it's like, wait a minute. It's not just trans people that are considered crazy online. It's conspiracy theory. Wait a minute. Now it's Christians. At first, it'll be anti-Zionist Christians. They'll say they're not real Christians, and these suckers will believe it. And then, of course, they'll go after them if they don't go along with the LGBTQ and the Noahide laws, not even realizing that they're going to be worshiping the Antichrist because these people can't think clearly because they don't think at all. And they won't allow them to think because they won't allow people like me and you to speak on big public platforms other than Rumble, which, of course, is a controlled CIA platform. So that's the problem that we're running into, ladies and gentlemen. But they put that on Fox News for a reason, and the people out there are excited about it, and they're falling for it hook, line, and sinker. Let's get all the data and the info. This guy posted this online, and they think in their head, they're like, oh, he was online, and he wrote, I'm going to murder this guy and that guy. That's not what they're going to be doing. If you're online and you're going, I question the government with the digital ID, and I don't think I like it, and I don't like the government with the climate laws, suddenly they're going to be coming for you. Oh, you're not smiling while the government's punting you in the nuts? They're coming to your front door. That's what it leads to. It's not to go after trans or LGBTQ or to protect Christians. It's to come after everyone. Gay, straight, black, white. And we're letting them bring this in, of course, because we remain divided. And you can thank the liberal media and the alt-right media for that. Because everybody's thinking that these events are actually real when they're not. Problem, reaction, solution. Carried out by your government. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.